Guys, thank you for watching. I'm sitting here with the council president, Mike Khader, for our usual live stream, talking about things that are important. But before we get there, let's give a shout out to La Piñata Bar and Grill, new place located at 405 South Broadway. Great place, come and have Mexican food, have a coffee, have a soda, have some fruit. Just come down and check it out. I'm sure that if you come and check it out, you will come back here.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It's just great to see a small business, opening up in this time of crisis. It's great to see this place. I wish you nothing but success.
And you see how friendly and family-oriented the place is.
Very welcoming. Very welcoming.
Very welcoming.
Very welcoming.
But the reason why I called the council president is because this coronavirus, COVID-19, it's panicking a lot of people. Other folks are very relaxed, they taking this very calm, but I think it's something for concern. Mike, you know what's going on. Council president, I'm sorry, council president.
I've been called worse, Ben, so no problem.
So am I. Council president, you know what's going on. Events have been canceled. You have canceled a few. Schools are still open, but sometimes they close, like Monday and Tuesday they closed. I need to know, what have you done personally to deal with with the situation?
Well, Ben, thanks for calling me on this, and I'm always going to return your call and try to accommodate you and the listeners. I started preparing for this maybe a little over 3 weeks ago when I started seeing what was transpiring overseas. This started in Asia, and you've seen how it was spreading like wildfire, and I was going on data. So about 3 weeks ago, I canceled all events that I had, and I really started limiting meeting in public and non-essential meetings. So my planning started about 3 weeks ago. Then about a week and a half ago, my chief of staff and I, we developed a continuity plan. One of the most basic fundamentals of government work is a continuity of government, because the residents need to know that their government is working for them. So many of my staff members have been working from home. They're available by email and telephone during working hours. And that's done to keep them safe, their families safe, but at the same time, make sure that the residents' needs are being met.
Now, Mike, just before we go further, let me just tell the guys, we are in a place where there is a little bit of surrounding sound, so I need feedback from you guys. Can you hear us okay? Another thing, this is a live streaming, and I'm taking questions on my iPad. So if you see me that I'm typing, it's not that I'm being disrespectful to you, it's because I'm taking questions.
Understood.
Okay? Some people say, why are you typing, texting?
You're multitasking.
I'm multitasking, exactly.
Multitasking, that's good. So, that's where we started doing, where I canceled all public events just to limit large groups. I canceled events, and I had implemented a continuity for my office, the City Council President's office.
For the office that you have control of.
Correct. Everyone has to work in their arena. Everyone has a responsibility. Just last week, and you were present at the mayor's press conference, I requested that all committee chairs hold off and postpone all committee meetings. Again, that was to limit interaction. I think that in dealing with coronavirus, the whole concept of containment, leave it where that's out the window.
That's done, yeah.
Containment is
we lost that window.
Yeah, and however, what we have to do is be proactive and on our toes as opposed to reactive and on our heels. One thing that the mayor was talking about is social distancing. Pretty much what we're not doing right now.
Yeah, difficult to do it on an evening.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And when you look at other models and what's working overseas, what has to happen is that the confirmed cases need to level off. And how do you level off? Is you literally need to shut things down. No pun intended. You literally have to shut it down, limit interaction, And eventually, once things level off, then we could get our arms around the situation. As I told you on Wednesday during the press conference, the situation is fluid. It changes daily. And there's something I remember in the military, not that I never served in the military, they use the acronym OTE, overtaken by events. So literally any information that was discussed on Wednesday is probably stale and new plans need to be implemented.
Understood. Now, Mike, do you think, you just said we need to take proactive measurements in order to deal with the current situation, right?
That is correct.
That's what you said.
That is my belief on the
Do
information.
you think that the city of Yonkers is taking those actions that you just suggested?
I do believe that the mayor declared a state of emergency yesterday afternoon, and he has the absolute right to do that, and he has my full support in declaring a state of emergency. We canceled, I believe earlier this week, he decided to cancel non-essential events. He closed down city services, Office of the Aging and community centers and stuff. So I believe that the city has taken steps that they have done. It's my understanding that first responders are equipped and prepared. Empress Ambulance, our ambulance services that responds to 911 calls, they have the proper staffing. So again, going on the information that I had, it appears the city has taken the steps. Remember, this is really not a Yonkers issue. It's not a county issue. It's not a state issue.
Yeah, but this interview is about Yonkers.
Yeah, about Yonkers. So based on the resources I have and the information that's given to me, it does appear that that the city has done everything that it can in its abilities.
Now, if I speak, which I have done, with parents in the city, they would disagree with you. Okay, and let me tell you, they would disagree with you, and in the fact that they say that schools should be closed. We ran a survey on our page, and we had hundreds of votes saying that schools should be closed. Some said no, but the large majority said yes. Where are your kids now? Are your kids been going to school?
Okay, Ben, and one. You made a lot of comments there. One, when you mentioned city, and again, I'm talking about non-Board of Education. As many people understand, the Board of Education, even though the city funds the Board of Education, it's run by a superintendent with a school board that's appointed by the mayor. So when you mention city, I'm not including the Board of Education. But now going back to your question.
But we talk about the concerns for the city, not government.
Here's how I'm going to answer the question. This past week, my children did not attend school.
Why?
This coming week, my children have no intention of going to school. Why? It goes back to what I was trying to say. I'd rather be proactive than reactive in doing this until I feel that the situation has been contained. That's a decision my wife and I decided to make. And I generally believe that the decision is not easy because there's always collateral consequences for every decision. I'm very aware that we have single parents. I'm aware that many of our children rely on services, and so these decisions shouldn't be made lightly. However, I also feel that the public safety and welfare of our residents is paramount. So I could only tell what I have done with my children for this past week and what I plan to do this week. I generally wish that the schools are closed the entire week instead of a piecemeal. Again, you can never get criticized for being overly cautious as opposed to being reactive and shutting down.
Now, I truly believe that Dr. Khader, school superintendent, and Mayor Mike Spano have the best interest in the safety of our children in Yonkers. But some people out there saying that the fact that schools were not canceled was more like a financial decision than actually a concern for our kids. How you see that? Well, funding, there was a...
Well, you know what, here's how I'm going to answer it. There are state requirements about 180 days for school, and that's by law. And I believe earlier this week, maybe within the last 24 or 48 hours, Senator Shelley Mayer introduced the bill, and the governor went public. He supported that. So that 180 requirement is no longer going to be enforced under the current situation. hence, money shouldn't be the factor for making decisions. Again, the health, safety, and welfare for our children and our residents should be the number one indicator.
Now, Mike, I understand you are the council president. Your responsibility is passing legislation in the city of Yonkers. But you are also a leader in the city of Yonkers. People see you as a leader.
Thank you.
We heard you before you were elected. You shown to be very concerned. If it matters to you, it matters to
Mike.
Okay, this matters to us.
And I agree.
It should matter to you. This is a question that is coming from Mr. Alberto Velasquez. Ask Mike about the workers. In the school systems, there is staffing, there is teachers, there is janitors, there is people there, and they are concerned with the situation. How you address them?
Well, again, this goes back to if the schools are not going to be closed long term, there needs to be factors in place. We need to make sure the workers you just mentioned, from custodial staff to maintenance staff to teachers and teachers' aides, that they have the proper equipment and they themselves are being not put in harm's way. There are many factors in here that I could only assume that Dr. Khader is working on, working with his board of trustees.
Well, on that press conference that both of us were, Dr. Rabadi gave us the procedure in case if you feel like you have the virus. Call your doctor, your private physician. He will give you a set of instructions. Follow those instructions. If you still feel sick after following those instructions, call back your private doctor. He will then instruct you where to go, but do not come out of your car into the emergency room. Wait in your car and staff will come out from the hospital to get you.
Correct.
I spoke with him through text this morning, and he said, no, if you don't have a doctor, I said, okay, doctor, what about if I don't have a private doctor? What's the procedure? He said, well, you call the hospital. Call the hospital. Don't go to the hospital. Call the hospital and find out. Well, I sent you a text earlier of somebody who did just that. She called the hospital, and the hospital said, no, there is nothing we can do. Don't come over here. And you read the message. She's afraid for her life.
I read that. What I was there at that. We heard the same message. I generally believe that Dr. Rabadi was giving the best information that he knew.
I'm not
at
saying
that time.
he gave us, information. I'm just saying.
However, since that time, there's been a national state of emergency. There's been the local city state of emergency. So maybe things have changed. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. Things have changed, and what was said Wednesday now is stale. I personally called that number that was given. A live person called, and I gave them the hypothetical. What happens if somebody has the symptoms of that? They said come into the emergency room.
Mike, if things are changing dynamically, in 1 hour, procedures might change, things might change. How does the citizens know this? Is there a method, in a process in place to notify the people of what is the current process?
Well, I know that when it comes to I would assume that when it comes to the Board of Education, Board of Education has a communications team, and they have methods in place. Many times we receive emails, we receive the robocalls of voicemail messages about things happening at the Board of Education. So I guess each department has their way of communicating, if there's going to be any change. And of course, emails, social media is a very big platform.
Alberto Velasquez, if you're posing a question, please pose the complete question so I know exactly what you're talking about. You just ask, our union refused to reach out. I have no idea what you mean. Ask your question in a way that I fully understand and the council president fully understand, so we can give you a correct answer.
Yeah, I don't know what.
I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means. But there is impact around this coronavirus. It impacts us in many more ways than it meets the eye.
Life as we know it.
Exactly. I just went to Gary Square. A spray of Lysol is being sold for $10. plus tax, actually more than $10. A box of baby wipes, Lysol baby wipes, $9.98. Those are items that sell for $1.99 or $2, Mike. Seems like some local businesses are taking advantage of the current situation to generate more money, profit. I asked the manager, he told me, well, I can show you the invoice. I paid for these much more than I normally pay. Is that an acceptable excuse?
Well, Ben, first of all, again, one of the things preemptively, I recognize that whenever you have crisis, historically, price gouging, and you have many business owners that are predatory. They're predators and they suspect on the vulnerable and the weak. So again, probably around 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I spoke about price gouging. And I urge anyone, you call up the City of Yonkers Department of Consumer Protection. You could even call the Mayor's Helpline, 377-HELP. You report the store, and it will be investigated. Also, the New York State Attorney General, they vigorously prosecute price gouging. It's illegal and it's unacceptable. That particular example, Ben, you've seen it, again, you showed me a photo. In times of crisis, we as a society, as humanity, we gotta come together. And we cannot make actions and take advantage of people's fear. And right now, people are concerned. There's fear of the unknown. And I'm confident we're going to come out of this stronger. We're going to come out of this better. But we got to look at ourselves, how we are as a society, if we look to take advantage of this crisis.
Now, before we go, some people are saying, price and demand.
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand. There is demand, there is lack of supply, prices go up. Does it apply to this?
The general concept of supply and demand, it's economics 101. However, in a time of crisis, it's predatory. You're taking advantage, and that's unacceptable. And to be quite frank, even if it was legal, I wouldn't support it. If that's the case, the stock market, they literally shut down the stock market a couple of times this week. Go buy stocks right now because they're at a, they're at a low. Again, we have to be compassionate for our fellow humans, for humanity. How are we going to be judged if we're taking advantage of it?
So supply and the demand theory is when we are not in a crisis. When there is a crisis and somebody uses that theory, it's actually the person is actually taking advantage of the crisis to generate the margin of profit. Personally, I don't think that is just wrong. I think it's morally wrong, and it's illegal. You can report. If you go to a store and you see that, take a picture, take a video, document it, call the number, and then if they ask you have any evidence, yes, you have. Don't just take your word for it.
And I knew this was, I feared that this would happen, particularly in the most vulnerable and marginalized neighborhood. And that's why I spoke about it several weeks ago before it was, to give people a warning. But again, thank you for bringing that particular store as an
99-cent store in Gary Square.
But on Monday, we'll follow through on our own also.
Now, just going back to the core, since things are changing dynamically, Mike. One day is one thing, the next day is something else. I know for a fact that the City Hall has a system, because I get calls when the weather is bad, I get calls when it's going to snow, not going to snow. What about using that system to notify the people of Yonkers if there is any changes in regards to the coronavirus?
Again, Ben, that's good. And again, the mayor leads the city, and I do believe that he has his procedures in place.
You talk to the mayor often, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. To be quite, I haven't since I think yesterday we spoke. And I do believe that he's on top of it as things develop. We're in constant communication, and that's important for people to know. That and you make the firm, your leaders of the city, we're in constant communication and we're assessing the situation. He has done things with his continuity of government between his departments, and I've done what I can to make sure that the city council and city council chambers are working for people.
Now, Michael, I know that Council President, I know there is some questions that you don't like me to, maybe the way I pose the question, but I always have to, throw you a curveball.
Okay.
Because otherwise you would say, what's wrong with Ben? Is he sick today? Didn't throw me that curveball?
Okay, what's up? Well, listen, there, baseball has been suspended, so you sure you want to throw?
Hey, I'm gonna throw you the curveball.
Yeah, let's go.
If you were the mayor of this city, if you were the man, not the top man, but the mayor of the city of Yonkers, what would you have done differently about this crisis than the current mayor? Would you have ordered the school closed? Would you have done something different? What do you tell us?
Well, Mayor.
No, I'm not a mayor.
No. Ben, answering those hypotheticals, it does a disservice. We have one mayor. The mayor is doing what I believe on the information that's given to me. He's exercising his authority, which I support him in exercising his authority. Even as the mayor, the school board and the board of education run separately. One thing that again echoes back is that there's one mayor. He's running the city. When it comes to what I've been done differently, I would have liked to see the schools closed. This mission creep. Let's close it Friday, and then we'll see what happens. And then let's close it Monday and Tuesday, see what happens. That's not sustainable. I'd rather be proactive, perhaps overreach a couple of more days, but be prepared, as opposed to taking a wait-and-see approach. That's just my general belief.
Well, he kind of went around, didn't want to answer in the beginning, but then he said, well, that's good. We're making progress. We're making progress. Well, guys, you heard it from the council president. Besides being the council president, he's also a father. He's also a husband. He also has elderly parents, and he also has elderly families. So he's as much concerned as any one of us. And I'm sure that the mayor is also concerned, because the mayor has an elderly mother and family members. So we are all concerned. Maybe people will do certain things differently, and that's the point of this interview, know about different points of view, how we see things, things in...
Well, just generally, I think that this crisis affects everyone, Ben. All ages, all ethnicities, all shades, from white, black, and every shade in between, religions. It's pretty much affected every continent, every country, that we deal with, going on what we know. And just people, operate differently, under crisis. I just, it's my belief that we are proactive, even if there's no news to share. Residents want to know that their government is working and we're on top of things.
Now, Mike, last question. If the schools were to be canceled, as you just said, if you were the mayor, you would have done it. How would the city, deal with the fact that thousands of parents have to go to work and they depend on the school systems to feed their children? Those are the other...
Well, and I said that earlier, there's a lot of collateral issues that you have to take from. We have a lot of single parents that work. We have many students that rely on, the breakfast and lunch for our students. We have after school care. I recognize that it's just not as easy to, shut off a light switch, schools are closed. For every action, there's a reaction. But, again, when you want to commit for something, you become a solution. So perhaps the students, and again, I'm thinking out the box because you're throwing me a curveball, perhaps that the students that couldn't, parents that couldn't find care for students, maybe they can go to a facility or something along those lines. There's always a solution when you roll up your sleeves and you work together.
Guys, on that note, we conclude this interview. Once again, thank you to La Piñata Cafe and Grill, located at 405 South Broadway. Brand new place, great food, great snacks. Come on down and check it out. This is La Piñata. The same owner of La Piñata in Gary Square is also the owner of La Piñata Cafe and Grill. Come and check it out. Great place. Until next time, thank you for watching.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben.